Nikki, what are the top 3 risks for CMOs right now?
So the top 3 risks that we're seeing that CMOs are saying they have right now is that the budget is already saturated with planned activity. 39% of CMOs that we surveyed said that. Number 2, 36% of CMOs said they do not have enough flexibility within their agreed budget. And 35% said they're having to do more with less.
Thank you for joining us on the show today. Our guest is at the very sharp end of what makes a successful PR campaign tick in 2025, data and insight. She is the Managing Director of Censuswide, one of the UK's most respected international market research consultancies, and she helps agencies and brands write the headlines that drive media coverage. For years, PR has known that original research can fuel earned media coverage, but in the post-AI era, the need for credible first-party data has never been more critical. And on the show today, we're going to dive into Censuswide's Voice of the CMO Report 2025 report, which is a crucial temperature check of how marketing leaders' roles and priorities are changing for 2026. This research zeroes in on the biggest tension facing C-suite today, the massive adoption of generative AI and the concurrent consumer skepticism about it. Nikki is going to help us dissect the findings that show that 100% of CMOs are using AI, yet many, I should say, are still struggling to connect their digital spend directly to long-term brand equity and sales growth. If you're an agency or an in-house leader looking to benchmark your strategy, understand the future of budget allocation, and learn how to navigate the complex world of brand activism, this report and this conversation really is going to be essential listening. What's great about this report is that it takes its research results from 500 CMOs and 2,000 consumers, so you can get perspectives on the same issues from both sides. The data was collected in June 2025, so it's good and fresh. Before we start, our PR Masterclass, the Agency Growth Forum, is now live. Virtual and face-to-face tickets are now available. The event always sells out, so if you do want a face-to-face ticket, be quick. Genuinely, don't hang about. Check out prmasterclasses.com or the homepage of PRmoment for the full speaker lineup. Also, do check out PRmoment's new TikTok content. It's on our TikTok channel, naturally enough, and it'll keep you up to date with the best creative campaigns in public relations. It has interviews with interesting PR folks like Nikki and our weekly good and bad PR content with the fine fellow that is Andy Barr. Also, thanks so much to our PRmoment podcast sponsors, the PRCA. Please give a warm welcome to the Managing Director of Censuswide, Nicky Marks. Nikki, welcome to the show.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Well, a pleasure to have you on. I can't quite believe we haven't had you on before. So thanks for joining us today. Really interesting report, this one, as I mentioned in my intro. You divided the various challenges into 3 main areas, which were AI. It's always AI, isn't it? But the three main areas were AI, brand discovery and backlash, and then budget and measurement, which I guess is forever will be an element that we'll be discussing, I imagine, for challenges for all of us, but in particular today, CMOs. To kick things off, just talk us through what the report said about the current challenges around AI and CMOs are having within artificial intelligence.
Yeah, so the main challenges, the 5 main challenges really this year that we're seeing are attracting and retaining customers. That's 33% of CMOs said that was their main challenge. Keeping up with emerging technology as well, 30%. Budget constraints, obviously, always a big one, 29%. And staying ahead of competitors with share of voice, that was 28%. And then demonstrating ROI, so finding effective ways to measure it was the final one.
Fine. And what are the biggest benefits CMOs are reporting about using AI?
So I think there's a lot of benefits coming out this year. I think 58% of those who have adopted it say it's an absolute game changer for them this year, which is really great to see. Higher quality content was the number one. 67% of CMOs said that. 65% said improved analysis. 64% said greater efficiencies for content generation, and better targeting of campaigns was number 4, and then number 5 was better understanding of customer profiles with 57%.
Yeah. So as soon as you go through this, I'm nodding at a few. Okay, yeah, I can get that. I get that. The one that stuck out for me there was AI is resulting in higher quality content. Now, far be it from me to be a spanner in the works, but I'm scratching my head a bit of that one. What did you think of that? When you saw that, did you think, oh, I'm not so sure?
Well, I think it forces people to kind of go beyond the run-of-the-mill creativity. I think it's what I found quite interesting is that ChatGPT themselves have hired a content agency to try and creative agency with humans in to get their creative strategy. So I think it's pushing us kind of beyond boundaries in terms of forcing us to be more creative.
It's interesting, isn't it? I mean, I guess what's sort of happening, and it doesn't happen as a universal line, does it? But basically, everyone's going to have access to AI tools of a reasonable standard, aren't they? When it comes, I mean, there's different tools for different things, but let's just talk about content creation for a while. But therefore, I guess you got a point. The AI gets you to a level. And then if that's all you're spitting out, then you're not going to do very well, are you? It's then about where you curate it next. So yes, maybe there is some light at that particular tunnel. Interesting point. And what concerns do CMOs have about using AI? Because that came through as well, didn't it?
So I think data security was number one. 47% were concerned about that. Then the other side, a lack of creativity was also a concern. So on the kind of flip side of what we've just discussed, 43% of that was obviously worried about their teams creating original content. And over-reliance on AI as well was number three, with 42%, followed by ethical issues, 35%, and job displacement, 32%. Surprisingly, 10% of CMOs had absolutely no concerns at all about it, which I found quite a big percentage, really.
That is staggering. I definitely want to do a podcast interview with them, because that would be intriguing. It is, yeah. I mean, just think about this report, right? So if I read your report, and I have, I get a better understanding of it than if I type into. We're Google, so I use Gemini. Give me the, I don't know, a 400, 500 word summary of this report. Both are useful, but I have if I do, and clearly the second option of that takes less time. But I don't actually know if I just get the summary through AI. I don't actually know. I wouldn't be able to interview about it, would I? Do you know what I mean? So it is I know that's a bit of a segue, but there is a subtle difference between getting an executive summary of something in your research to actually reading it, which is that does seem to that is an element that I guess you still need to actually do the work to a large extent.
There absolutely is. I mean, when we produce executive summaries, again, you can do it on AI, but actually the human doing it behind it always is a little bit more sophisticated. It always does give you better results. So I think you need the two to complement each other.
Yeah, and we're all in a competitive environment in our various guises of what we're doing. So you kind of probably do need to use both. Now, one of the things I mentioned in my intro was what I liked about this report is that you have the CMO. I think you interviewed 500 odd CMOs, and you, alongside the same sort of issues and questions, you get the perspectives of consumers, 2,000 odd consumers. So was that disconnect is always interesting, isn't it, across the various elements of the report? But on the AI bit to kick things off, what was the disconnect between what CMOs think about generative AI and how comfortable consumers are with it?
Yeah, so consumers haven't quite caught up yet. I think the confidence isn't quite there. So when asked kind of if they were happy with being used in social media content or creating content, consumers aren't as happy with it as CMOs are. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing, but I think it's all about kind of trust and transparency there. I think that's going to really help bridge the gap over the next year. I think we've seen it come on leaps and bounds over the last year, and I think consumers will catch up. But it's just about using it kind of authentically and being transparent with it. I think there was the bit with Vogue in August using kind of AI models, and there was outrage on social media immediately when that happened. But I think had they been more transparent about it, it probably could have eased it a little bit and maybe not had quite the backlash that it did.
Yeah, I mean, presumably it's different for different acceptability at levels and interest depending on which consumers you're talking about, right? I mean, just thinking about demographic, my mum's not massively into AI. but my son laughs at my naivety with it. Do you know what I mean? So it's kind of, it's more complex and nuanced, I guess, isn't it? So one of the things that came out in the report, which I was quite intrigued about, was social media has become such an important channel for brands, for new people to discover those brands. And I'd kind of missed that, but it came out quite strongly in the report, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. So 40% of people say that they discover new brands via social media. That was followed closely by recommendations by friends and family, 37%, and then online searches as well, just shortly after that.
Right. So just going down a little bit deeper, of the social media channels where brands are getting discovered, are there some interesting trends there, or does it just depend upon the audience, frankly?
It definitely depends upon the audience. I was quite surprised. Facebook is number one with 51%, followed by YouTube, then Instagram, TikTok, and then X at 22%. So, but I think that definitely depends on the generation that you're going for as well.
Yeah, no doubt. I'm not on Facebook anymore, so I don't do a lot of brand discovery there. So that's interesting. But just taking a step back, the sort of second main area of the report was around, as I mentioned, discovery and consumer backlash. The concerns there, or the opportunities that CMOs are seeing, how does that come out?
I think the brand backlash is always on consumers' minds, on CMOs' minds. So I think 20% of CMOs admit that backlash is always on their mind when they're doing a campaign, which again, and a large percentage of them are saying that does affect their creativity as well. So it is certainly something to think about.
And just what we're thinking about there is what the risk of a campaign is, kind of what you're alluding to there is am I doing anything in this campaign that is likely to cause offence and therefore get consumer backlash? Is that in essence where you're driving that one?
Yeah, exactly. So it's the stance that the brand takes. It's kind of the brand activism, really, kind of how much they speak out about things. It's that kind of worry on their minds.
Which must, I mean, just in the news environment we're currently in society as a whole right now, people have never been more easily offended, had they? And there's so much going on in the world that is difficult and controversial. It must be difficult to try and navigate your way through that brands. And you can see that, can't you? That it does appear that we're in a more risk-averse world currently.
Totally. I think it's the ultimate tightrope, really, for marketers. I think our stats show 50% of consumers want brands to take a kind of be activists about it. The other 50% don't want them to say anything at all. So it's really about, I think, understanding your market properly there. You've really got to understand kind of who you're targeting, where it is, because it's not just about standard demographics anymore. It's about really understanding their values and who you're targeting. So when you've got a real understanding of that, you know whether you should kind of take a stance on it or not, really. Yeah,
and I guess from a personal perspective as well, it's job limiting, isn't it? If you sign up a campaign that then creates a big backlash and gets your organization into difficult areas where it doesn't want to be, you're probably not going to hang on to your job. So that's part of the reason there's that personal handbrake as well as the brand side, isn't it? I guess.
Yeah, totally.
Absolutely. So just on that, you sort of touched on it there, but that correlation between what brands are thinking and what consumers are thinking and doing is forever interesting, isn't it? On the backlash side of things, it seems to me that consumer expectations and demands are probably higher than ever. I think they've always been pretty high, but they're higher than ever, and that transparency of social media means that things can develop and escalate pretty quickly, isn't it? Is that just a symptom of the angry society that we seem to be living in, or the increasingly angry society we seem to be living in, sort of fueled by, I guess, keyboard warriors who are answerable to no one?
I think so. I think it's just kind of for the brands to understand whether they should take a stance on it and not just do it kind of unnecessarily. I think if you're Ben and Jerry's, for example, absolutely, it's in your DNA to kind of come out and make a stand. But some older generations particularly prefer neutrality. So I think it's just understanding where you're coming from there.
Right, and that's what we talked about earlier. Sort of budget and measurement. We've been doing this a while. I mean, they always come up. and they're always going to be a challenge, and you're always going to want more budget, and no measurement's ever going to be perfect. That's kind of my pitch on these things. But for 2026, what are the trends there that we need to be aware of that CMOs are worried about?
So 89% of CMOs are facing budget challenges, which is quite unsurprising, really. The biggest challenge that we've seen is deciding on what best to do with a limited budget. So 46% of CMOs said that they were worried about that. The great news, however, for our industry is that 72% of CMOs are expecting to see a rise in PR budgets for next year, which is great. And that kind of transpires across the other areas as well, across marketing, market research. But yeah, we are expected to see a rise in budgets.
Okay, so PR, just talk me, so 72% of PR budgets are likely to increase. Is that kind of where that stat was, right? 72%
of the CMOs that we surveyed said that they would expect PR budgets to increase next year.
You got me all excited then. I thought you were saying PR budget's going to increase by 72%. That would have been good, wouldn't it? But okay. Right. And broadly, I mean, is PR roughly in line with other areas of the sort of marketing communications channels, or is PR a bit less budget, or is it about the same?
Roughly the same. There's market research is 75%, marketing in general is 80%, so all around the 70-80.
Nicky, what are the top 3 risks for CMOs right now?
So the top 3 risks that we're seeing that CMOs are saying they have right now is that the budget is already saturated with planned activity. 39% of CMOs that we surveyed said that. Number 2, 36% of CMOs said they do not have enough flexibility within their agreed budget. And 35% said they're having to do more with less.
Nicky Marks from Censuswide, thanks so much for coming on the show. Really appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you for having me.